This is video number 2 of Advanced Misting Systems. This video we're going to go over the pump itself and why I chose the pump. Not so much this control panel, which really this is the pump and all its data, well, the pump and the motor and all its data, but we're just going to zero in on the pump itself and its characteristics and why I chose it. Now, this is the pump itself right here, pump, motor, bell housing, and it's this pump that I'm going to talk about for a little while. This is a Danfoss pump. Model number is PAH2, and it's a stainless steel pump. It's completely stainless steel. And there are a couple different reasons why I chose it. One, it's an oilless pump. It doesn't need there's no oil in there to keep it lubricated. It's actually lubricated by by water itself. So that's kind of an advantage, that there's less maintenance involved. You don't have to change the oil as much. You don't have to change any oil. Two is its capability to handle clean water, deionized water. Basically, Danfoss is kind of geared itself towards being all stainless steel pumps and can easily handle deionized water. And that's what we're using it for here. This particular application has very clean water coming into it using DI water, although we are blending it just a slight amount to actually cut down on a static electricity can be generated with pure deionized water in a misting application. So we're blending it just a slight amount, so we get into the range of 3, 4, 5 microsiemens, which is basically about 500 k ohm to 200 to 500 k ohm of water quality. So those are the two primary reasons, and they're legitimate reasons. You know, this is a different design of pump that is out there. This is a very expensive pump. It's probably the most expensive that's out there, but yet it has these particular characteristics, being all stainless steel and oilless, that make it intriguing to apply to this misting applications. The other classifications of pumps, the positive displacement triplex type pumps that are out there by several different manufacturers, operate a lot differently than this one does, and they can handle dirtier water, and they're designed for a lot of different applications, where Danfoss pretty much designs a lot of their pumps around this misting application and other applications that require clean water. Now, Danfoss is a pretty good sized company that makes quality products. They do have good manuals. You know, Danfoss is a Danish company, so they're not manufactured here in the United States, but they've got a good reputation. There are 3 different manuals that associate this particular pump. It's the Datasheet, talks about all the different models, and we'll zero in on the datasheet that applies to the particular pump I'm using. Like I said earlier, where I'm using a PAH2, so here it is right here. Happens to be the smallest pump that Danfoss makes in this class of pumps. The 2 happens to mean the centimeters per cubic inch per revolution. But you know, what we're interested in more is capacity. Basically, this pump has the ability to put out about a gallon a minute, 60 gallons an hour, which is right around 500 pounds an hour of humidification. Now, this particular job that it's running at right now, if we go back to the display, you can see that we have it listed as a 300 pound per hour system, and that's what the capacity that they need for this particular system. And that's all, you know, the 500 pounds per hour is running at max frequency. This max frequency for this unit, max speed, is 3,000 RPM. There happens to be a 3,600 RPM motor on there, but at 3,000 RPM it'll put out about 500 pounds per hour. So to get the 300 pounds per hour, we run around 2,200 RPM. So that's the data sheet for that particular pump. And you can see that there's several different models here. And if you scroll down here a little bit, you know, you look at the weight. Here's the weight of this pump. So 9.7 pounds, 9.7 pounds, 9.7 pounds, 9.7 pounds. So that means that this pump is the same body of the pump, but it has 3 different capacities. That means it's just engineered a little bit differently inside to give it 4 unique capacities, but yet use the same case. So, and now I moved ahead. Here's the picture of the pump and a little bit of a breakdown of what goes on inside. Basically, I call it like a wobbler system. There's a wobbler bearing in there. You can see that this thing is at an angle here. and then here's part of the piston assembly, and there are 5 pistons in here, 5 shafts. Let's see, what do they call it? 10. Yeah, they call it a piston. So as this thing wobbles around in circles, it pushes these pistons back and forth, and that's what causes the pumping action. And again, it's all water lubricated in here. Now, really what happens with that water lubrication is you actually have some bypass water that's always streaming past these pistons. So there's a little bit of a loss that's going on, but that's actually how they lubricate it and how they actually cool it, and it works quite well. And I talked about the 4 different capacities for this one case, and all they're doing is just engineering this out a little bit differently and moving these pistons a little bit longer distance to get more capacity. Now, another nice thing about this particular pump, compared to, we'll call it the triplex pump, is that the pulsation or vibration out of this pump is not as great because you're using 5 smaller pistons. The other models of positive displacement pumps use 3 pistons, 2 pistons, 1 pistons, and that creates a little bit more pulsation with those units. And you think about it, and you can think about how the pulsation happens. These are positive displacement, so each time this piston moves, it's pushing water, it's pushing a volume of water, and that water, as it's being pushed, is pulsed. You know, it pulses, pulse, 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 pulse. And if you can use 5 pistons instead of 3, your vibration is cut down. So that's another advantage of this Danfoss design, is that it doesn't pulse as much. In fact, to the point where you don't need a pulsation dampener. So you can see here by this introduction that the Danfoss PATH model pump is designed for technical water use, ultra pure water, reverse osmotic, deionized water, demineralized water. So it's designed for clean water, and that means that if you use it on, let's say, a standard, you can use it with standard water, but you do have to filter it to a very clean point. And that's, will say, is one of the disadvantages of this pump. You do need very clean water going into it, where those triplex pumps, positive displacement pumps, they're engineered to the point where you don't have to filter the water as much. These, because this is water lubricated, you don't want any minerals or anything in there to cause any problems on the water lubrication, where triplex pumps are oil lubricated around their bearings and sleeves, but yet are positive displacement, so you can get by with dirtier or a low mineral content in them, where the Danfoss is almost to the point where you can't have any minerals in there. It's got to be clean. Now, if we take a look at another manual, this one here, this is the instruction set that tells you a bit about application, how it gets put together. Well, I should say how it is disassembled and reassembled. This is the maintenance manual, you'll call it. So it is serviceable after 8,000 hours, that you can replace some parts if deemed necessary to replace them. And it's a very good manual. I'll page through it here real quick. See, it shows you how to take it apart, all the pieces, you know, how to pull it apart. There's all the pistons, cylinder, barrel, springs and assembly. There's all the parts to it. And then here we're actually checking for wear on the plates. Some plates that actually have some wear. Tells you, goes through how to check things, and then basically put it back together. And then there's a parts list. It gives you views and lists of all the parts. So, Danfoss does have very good documentation. So it's a very good pump. And like I was saying, it is more expensive than a lot of the same capacity positive displacement pumps. But once you get up into their bigger models, they're more competitive priced compared to the bigger models of the triplex style pumps. So that somewhat concludes this portion of it. Advanced Misting 2, which covers the pump chosen for this application. So next we'll get into a little bit more control, I think. But again, that's it for now. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.